Hey, everybody joining. Thank you so much for being with us. Sorry, we're just getting started a few minutes late. I can see a lot of people are joining the webinar right now, so we're just going to give it, a minute to make sure that everyone's joined in and that they can, start listening to the great content we have planned for you today. So let's give it another 30 seconds, maybe. So this is being recorded. I had some students who were asking whether or not, if they had to sign off early, whether or not they would get that information that they missed. So this is being recorded. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Sunday. We're going to go through some brief introductions of the great panelists we have here today, and then get started. We know, Sundays are precious days, so we are going to try and keep this brief, but make sure you get all of your questions answered. It is a webinar format, so as we go along, please feel free to use the Q&A. Put your questions in there. We'll get to them at the end. My name's Kate. I'm the Assistant Director of U.S. Admissions for AUR, and so happy that you're here today. And Jess, why don't you go next?
Welcome. My name is Jessica York, and I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admissions here based in Rome. Let me hand it to the President, Dr. Scott Springer.
Okay, my name is Scott Springer, and I've been the president at AUR for the last 3 years, and I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome you all to this event and also to AUR in general. I'm sure you know from your discussions with admissions counselors how super exciting it is to study at AUR, not only for its excellent programs and faculty and staff, and not only because it's in Rome, but actually what the faculty and staff do with the city and its local resources. So you have access to all the major sites, courses out in the city, all the major institutions, and also the incredible networks that you'll be able to have contact with as you advance through your studies. I think the other really interesting thing about AUR, as I discovered it, is the access to the global diversity of the student body and the learning that takes place between students. We have students from all over the world, from 50 different nations and different languages and ethnicities. So there's a lot of diversity here to learn from. And then obviously Rome is a great jumping off place for academic study trips and also your personal travel on the weekends. And we leave plenty of space in the curriculum for people to travel. As president, one of my main interests and focuses has been on the career piece and building out our career office and career strategy and building connections with our alumni so that when students graduate, they have the best options possible before them. That is, you can either go to graduate school or professional school or go directly into the market. And so we've been working really hard on building more and better internships. One of the things that we launched this spring that's brand new is a program called Real Projects, where we put teams of students together and we go out into the market and bring back projects for students to work on. And they work directly with companies on campus. And we launched one this spring, and the students are loving it. They're working with a company right now in Bologna, and they just took a trip up there, and they're very excited about that. And the other thing that we've done recently is build out our alumni connections. So we have something like 7,000 alums, and we are building out the alumni office so that students can reach out to alums for advice, for career advice, for making connections, developing a network, etc. So I have a lot more to say, but this is really about the faculty and students to talk to you. But I just wanted to put a face on the institution as the president and also tell you in advance that I have an open door policy. So if you want to come and visit and talk about your experience, I'm at the top of Building A. When you get to Rome, come up and see me, and I'll be happy to greet you and discuss whatever you want to discuss. So I'll turn it over to the next person. I don't know who comes after me.
Thanks, Scott, so much. Professor Credi, why don't you very quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lorenzo Coretti. I'm the director of the program of communication and digital media here at AUR. I'm here today in order to guide you for what concern everything academic, and I will do my best to be brief, but I believe that I will see you in a couple of minutes with my presentation.
Thank you. All right, students, popcorn, real quick introductions, please.
I'll go first. I'm Belen Montebelli. I am a communications and digital media major. I started last semester, but I transferred from a university in LA, and I'm a sophomore now.
Thank you. Aurora?
I can go next. My name's Aurora, and I'm a travel and tourism management major at AUR. Yeah, I'm from Alaska, but I transferred to AUR. So, yeah, previously I was doing Virtual education, and then now I'm at AUR. And I'm a sophomore.
Awesome.
I'll go next. First, huge congratulations for being admitted to AUR. We're looking forward to welcoming you on campus. My name is Joanna. I was born in Sofia, Bulgaria, but my family and I moved to London when I was younger. And I'm a business administration major. And this will be my first year at AUR.
Awesome. Thanks. Bruno?
Okay, I believe I'm the last one. So I'm Bruno, I'm from Poland. I'm the co-host of the film festival that we organize at AUR, and we will talk about activities later, I believe, in that meeting. And also I was in a student in government for the past year.
Thank you. And last but not least, and very importantly, we have Kirsty from Financial Aid, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Kirsty Young. I'm an admissions and financial aid counselor here at the American University of Rome. I'm going to be able to answer hopefully all of your questions surrounding financial aid, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. So real quick, we talked about us, but we want to hear about you. So we'd like to know who's in the Zoom room with us today. In our accepted student class for fall 2023, we have 40 nationalities, 31 US states, and every academic major represented, which we're really excited about. I'm going to open up a poll right now, and we're just going to ask what type of student you are and where you're zooming in from today. So hopefully you can see that open up for you. Just give you a minute. All right, just a few more seconds. Looks like we've almost got everybody. All right. So hopefully you can see the results. We've got every student type here, which is awesome to see. We've got almost all the continents too, which is also awesome to see. This is definitely something that is really representative at AUR, students from all over the world. Okay, so real quick, we are going to jump in here. So we have prepared this agenda for you. We did hear from President Springer already, so we're going to kind of jump forward, move ahead, and hear about academics. We'll talk about student life, housing, campus safety, some financial aid and budgeting tips, and then some next steps before we move into a Q&A. Again, please feel free to put questions in the Q&A as they come up for you, so that we can just jump right into questions at the end. All right, Professor Creddy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello again. I would like to start with, I think, what is one of the most important keywords to describe not only the American higher education system, but the AUR system in particular. And the word that comes to mind is flexibility. You may think that flexibility is a sort of buzzword, but as I will tell you like a very, very brief story to explain that it's not like that, especially considering that there are many students today that don't come from the US, so they are not so familiar with the American and the UR system. So when I started, it was 1996, my adventure in higher education. I was pretty much forced, family reasons, to do business, and many of you will do business and will love it, but I didn't so much. And after 1 year of business, I realized that I wanted to write, I wanted to work as a journalist, I wanted to do communications pretty much. And the problem that I encountered, I was in the Italian system studying here in Rome. The problem that I encountered is that only one course that I attended in business was accepted in my new communication curriculum. End of the story is a sad story. Basically, I lost 1 year of my life. When I started working at AUR and I became familiar with the AUR system, I thought, you see, if I had studied at AUR, well, not only I wouldn't have lost 1 year, but also I would have included my the knowledge, the know-how that I acquired in a different major in my new curriculum. And this is one of the greatest strengths of AUR. Most academic systems presume that new students at 17, 18, 19 years old have very clear ideas about the future and that their choice of major is final and definitive. We know that this is not the case, and our curriculum is designed in order to accommodate the passions that our students harbor, but more than that, also the passion that might emerge throughout the 3 or 4 years that our students spend at AUR. This is embedded in our curriculum, and this is also part and parcel of our job as not only as instructors, but especially as academic advisors. The academic advising process at AUR is quite spectacular if compared to other institutions. Why? Kate, Jessica, and Kirsty might correct my numbers because I'm not sure they are up to date, but I believe that we have roughly a ratio of 17 students for each professor, which means that potentially every advisee has the possibility to talk directly and in depth with their advisor on a weekly basis. Now, trust me, you won't need that, but potentially you have the option. And this is, again, spectacular because if you had any experience in other universities, you will have noticed that being in touch constantly with your advisor is quite an ordeal. It is not very easy at all. So your advisor is basically one of the most important resources, the most important academic resource, because together with your advisor, you're going to design your curriculum. And the curriculum at AUR is comprised, I would say, of mainly 3 elements. The first element is the major, which is basically your main specialization. This is where you want to graduate and what you want to put on your CV in bold once you have completed your studies. But then we also have to consider how the 3 elective sections of our curriculum is used very much for minors, so for mini specializations. This is very, very important, and this is also supported by the general education program. The general education program is something that, I'll be honest with you, when we meet for the first time, sometimes students struggle understanding the value of it. And maybe it is us as faculty members that struggle conveying the meaning of general education, but it's one of our precious resources. Because on the one hand, general education is about certain foundational skills that every student should have. I'm talking about the first year seminar when new students start socializing and start working in teams. I'm talking about writing in English. I'm talking about statistics. And I'm talking about Italian because, well, at the end of the day, you're going to study and work in Italy for quite few years. But then there are other sections from humanities, social sciences, diverse perspectives, and Roma Caput Mundi, which are really the opportunity for students to tap into the connections that their major has with other disciplines. As a matter of fact, when in the future you're going to send your CV to potential employers, they will be very much interested not only in what major you have chosen, but also how minors connect with the major in order to see whether you're a person that is flexible enough and that can tap into different disciplines at the same time. Rome is our classroom, so we made a massive use of the beauty, the greatness of this city. I'll just give you an example. I teach a Roma Caput Mundi course. It's called Communication and Power in Rome. And we, in the course, we discuss how music can be used as a propaganda tool throughout history. In order to study that, rather than being stuck in a classroom, let's say that we decided to have a mini concert in one of the most beautiful churches in Rome in order to talk about how Martin Luther, Calvin, and other reformers of the 16th century used music in order to establish these new confessions. And we also listen to an organ concert because, well, I mean, you're in a church, why not? Rome is our classroom, but we tend also to get out of this classroom. So there are many academic field trips within Rome and outside of Rome that our students can take. As we speak, some of my students are in Lisbon, and they spent a weekend in Lisbon working with Professor Koperski, one of our best instructors, on black and white photography. Last week, some students in the International Relations program were in Helsinki to discuss the recent entrance of Finland into the NATO project. So we are in Rome, but Rome is also, well, at the heart of Europe and the Mediterranean, and this is something that we try to make the most of it. Maybe we can move to the following slides, please. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of information, but I hope that you're curious and you're going to ask later.
I also actually wanted to ask if any of the students that are here today have done an academic field trip, and if you wouldn't mind just sharing your experience briefly.
I have. So this previous fall, I went to the Dolomites on a destination marketing trip for travel and tourism management. And basically, we took a train all the way to the Alps, and then we kind of discussed sustainable tourism management within the area. And we got to do a lot of hands-on things. So we got to even go to the Termi, which is kind of like a spa, and then talk to them about their operations and how they market themselves. And then, so we just got to talk about all of the tourism boards from there. We even got to go on a really nice hike. And then on the last day, we saw Ötzi, the Iceman, in Bolzano. So overall, it was a really great experience. And we wrote a short paper about it in reflection, and I thoroughly enjoyed that experience.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Do any of our other students have any thoughts or things they want to share about maybe Roma Caput Mundi? If you have an experience you'd like to share with our attendees today? All right, we can move on. All right, next slide.
Okay, here I'm going to be very brief because I don't want to get too technical. Certainly my first advice would be please be here on time a little bit in advance, because you will have to settle down, you will have to move to a new place. And then there is orientation week, which takes place 1 week before our classes start. So as I can see here, arrivals this year will be on the 1st of September, and classes will begin on the 4th of September. The first week is a topical week. We call it the add and drop week, because obviously, especially for new students, there will be courses that you have to take. So at the beginning, there are certain boxes that you will need to tick, but then obviously you will realize why they're so essential. But there sometimes you will notice that maybe you signed up to a course and then you start the course, and for many reasons you might want to change your mind and be moved to another course. So please keep in mind that you have 1 week in order to do that. And at the end of week 1, so Friday the 8th, for what concern the next term, you will be able to move to another class, and no, this of course will not impact your GPA, will not impact your record in any way whatsoever. You're just moving from A to B together, of course, with the help of your advisor. Another important date that I would like to highlight is the 14th of November, the last day to drop a class with a W recorded. Most of our students conclude our courses, but it might happen that for reasons that sometimes are beyond our and your control, you will find yourself having to drop one class. Please make sure that you do this before these dates, because when you drop with a W as withdrawal recorded, this will not affect your GPA. Please keep in mind that at AUR we don't have only a spring break, but we have a fall break as well. This is really a breath of fresh air after you've worked quite a lot throughout the semester. Use it to relax, but also to keep up with the readings and the assignments. Sometimes I think I like best how the British call it. They call it Reading Week, which has a different sound to it. But at the end of the day, who are we to judge? And then there are, of course, final exams that take place in December. And between the 11th and the 14th of December, most courses will have a final exam where you will have the final tests in your courses. Another piece of advice here, please make sure that you book your flights back home and you make arrangements to go back home after the end of the final exam, so after the 15th of December. So I did my best to be very brief now, but keep in mind that I will be here to answer all of your questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Jessica.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. So I'm going to give you an overview of everything non-academic. I'm going to answer and I'll give you some more information about housing, about life in Rome, off campus or on campus, safety, health services, but also clubs, organizations, and sports. So if you go to the first slide, to the next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about housing. So AUR housing is optional, although we do recommend it for first semester students because it's a great way to meet new students and also to adapt to living in Rome. You know, just keep in mind, if you go into AUR housing, we'll pick you up from the airport, we'll take you to your apartment, we'll help you settle in. So it's a great way to start your stay here. And the AUR housing team is really dedicated to providing safe and conveniently located accommodation. This type of housing, excuse me, is suited for students looking to really fully immerse in the Italian culture. And for those of you who are familiar with Rome, apartments are either located in Trastevere or the Monteverde neighborhood, and usually are within walking distance or a short bus ride away from campus. Apartments are fully furnished, including all kitchen appliances. However, and this is really important for US students, there are no dryers in Italy. So you will be able to, hang up your laundry on balconies or outside spaces, but you will not be able to use dryers. It's just not something that they have here. Going back to the apartments, they usually are about 6 students per apartment, 2 students per room, along with a shared kitchen, a living room, and usually 2 bathrooms. Apartments are really spacious. And everything is provided, so towels and sheets, and there is even a cleaning lady once a week who comes and cleans the common spaces. Really important, AUR housing is self-catering, which means students will be encouraged to really familiarize themselves with their local area, with grocery shops, but you will need to do your own cooking. Don't worry if you can't cook just yet. Our res grads will be available for cooking classes throughout the semester. Really important regarding room assignments. Obviously, if you know someone who's coming to AUR, or if you've joined the WhatsApp group and you've connected with with an incoming student or students, please request that when you submit your housing forms, and we will make every effort to make sure that you're housed together. I'm going to hand it over to Aurora. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in AUR housing?
Yeah, so I did AUR student housing last semester, and kind of like Jessica was saying, I wanted to do it at first just for the convenience of like landing in Rome, and then like obviously having somewhere to be without looking beforehand. So that was really nice. And I was with 5 other roommates in Monteverde, which is like a really quiet neighborhood, which I really liked. And we were like right by Villa Pamphili, so it was also just like a really nice area. And yeah, like Jessica was saying before, it was like a good opportunity for all of us to familiarize with the city. We were all kind of going through something similar, moving to Rome, I guess. And then yeah, I don't know, I had a really good experience in AUR student housing. And then all of us this semester had like found each other from AUR student housing and like went other places. So that was really nice to like have met there, and then to be able to like go out into Rome, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We do, there is also the option of going straight away into independent housing. And my only recommendation there is to really plan in advance, or at least find a place to stay for the first few weeks while you settle into life in Rome. We do, and there is the QR code if you want to get some tips, but I'm also going to ask Belen, who opted for that and went straight into independent housing. Can you share a little bit about your experiences?
Yeah, so I'm renting a room right now, and I did that through, there's these websites that kind of like Airbnb, but for students. So it's very easy to book. And I'm renting a room, but I'm roommating with 2 other girls. And the websites are called Uniplaces. And the other one is Spotahome, and they're just very easy websites to use if you want to do independent housing, and you want to like branch out, if you want to go into other areas. I really do recommend it.
Thank you, Belen. That being said, please wait to get here until you know the city a little bit better, to figure out also if you want to move further away from campus, because at times public transport can be a little challenging and you want to be as close to campus as possible. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about health and safety. I want to start off by saying that Italian healthcare is consistently ranked among the best in the world. And that being said, Italian law requires that all non-Italian students living in Italy have medical insurance. If you ever had to go and get emergency medical treatment in a hospital, obviously that is provided to everyone, regardless of insurance coverage. However, if follow-up care is required, the hospital will ask for proof of insurance. So just to keep that in mind. And if you are an EU citizen, you can use your national health insurance card or other private health insurance. But we do recommend that all non-EU citizens enroll in the CISI study abroad insurance, which is affiliated to AUR, and it's all on the website if you want to get more information. But they offer highly comprehensive insurance coverage and also fulfill your immigration requirements. So when you apply for your student visa, CISI will cover all those requirements. And you're able to register for the duration of the academic year. And I think the monthly rate is approximately $42, but it covers everything. So that is in terms of health insurance, but we do have an on-campus doctor who is on campus 3 to 4 times a week, and he will, give all kinds of primary care at no charge for students. Whereas for specialist visits, the Office of Student Life can assist with everything. So we have, whether it's hospital or physician appointments, and there are several excellent public hospitals in the immediate campus area. And there's also an international private hospital within walking distance of campus. In regards to mental health counselors, AUR provides its students with free confidential psychological services. And we have 2 certified counselors who will see students on campus, as well as a psychiatrist who is available by appointment and can also prescribe medication. Please keep in mind, though, that if you are on specific medication, please plan to bring enough of that medication to cover you throughout your stay here in Rome, as it might be difficult to find the same or equivalent medication here in Italy. We also have partnered with Med in Action. Med in Action are doctors that will provide home visits to students for a standard fee. So the student, if they aren't feeling well and they don't want to leave the house to go to the doctor, they can call Med in Action and they will always come and provide that service. And then finally, we also have an emergency phone for any kind of emergency after campus hours. And the phone is always answered by a staff member and is obviously on call to assist students if they need any kind of help. Other than that, though, it's just important to say that AUR is located in a really safe residential area. We are on top of a hill. Monteverde means the green hill. It's a great neighborhood, extremely safe. We have security on campus. And the university is actually located right next to the American Academy and also the American Embassy to the Vatican. So it's a very safe area. Okay, next slide. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about non-academic life on campus. So there are a large range of diverse and fully inclusive clubs and activities at AUR. Some of these are faculty-led, some are student-led, but all are extremely dynamic and fun. And we really encourage you all to get involved in at least one of these offerings. I think the students can explain or can describe their experiences best. So I'm going to hand it to Bruno and Joanna, who are extremely involved in all kinds of clubs.
Joanna, I can go first.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am involved a lot with the AUR volunteers, which is a great opportunity for you to get more familiar with Rome as a society and help. For example, we work with Casa Scalabrini, which is an incredible association to help integrate people from disadvantaged backgrounds to integrate within the Italian community. And you learn so much about Italian history as you help. It's a very productive way of you to spend your extra day because we have a 3-day weekend. We have no classes on Fridays. So this will be a great way for you to familiarize with Rome. Also, I am involved with the business club, which is another great opportunity for you to be more involved within AUR, the AUR community. It's a very great way, especially if you're a business major, to get a little bit more information about how a business operates, because we do sell merchandise preparation. We have all different roles regarding, we have creative directors. It's we really try and aim to reflect a real business, so we can learn additionally more things outside of the classroom. In regards to sports, we have a wonderful and variety of range in sports that AUR offers. I personally do yoga, which is great to relax and just take a little bit time off of your academics. For example, we do it in the great balcony that we have on the 3rd floor that has a view all you can see the whole city. So many beautiful monuments, great sunsets, and it's a very good and relaxing space for you to maintain your well-being. Also, we have a range of whatever you prefer. We have basketball, we have beach volleyball or just volleyball, you have tennis, we have a wonderful running club that I've heard a lot about. We also have the opportunity for you to go to the gym. It's very well equipped and spacious. It's in a very quiet area, which is Monteverde. And if you're a resident, if you plan to be a resident and a seeking degree student, it will be free for you. But if you're a study abroad, I believe it's around €140 or something like that. So yeah, Bruno, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, so a second club that is very good for your mental health is the Film Festival Club that I'm the co-host with my friend Marco. And we organize a film screening at the end of every semester, and we invite all the AUR staff, students, family, and we screen films made by students. And for you, it's I don't know if it doesn't matter your major really, but if you're into making films from whatever perspective, as an actor, director, writer, or you're not sure what you want to do, so you can become a production assistant. So basically a person who does everything and nothing at the same time, but they're very needed. And anything you feel like doing for film, I'll invite you to join our club. I believe the second week is the club affair. And that's when you sign in all the non-academic or academic clubs. And yeah, we just we don't want to just screen films and like get the projector and then like, thank you very much, like go. But we want to organize a big gala with a special guest, with live music, with, someone that you can really enjoy with your friends. And also you will have something to put in your CV. So when you finish school, you will actually go to professional life with a film or with something that you can talk about. And because agencies usually ask, show me what you did. So you can show them your experience that you've made here. Yep.
Thank you, Bruno. That's great. Kate, if you could just go to the next slide. I think the students already covered it all. There are obviously a bunch of different sports offered on campus. I know Bruno used to be on the soccer team, now goes to the gym, which is really close to campus. Belen, you used to play volleyball. So we do encourage you to get involved with, sports, with clubs and activities, because I always say there is so much, there's so much to discover on campus and off campus, and it's really a matter of keeping in mind. And with that, I'm going to end it, I promise, Kate. But you know, you get to have the incredible experience to have a double life here. You get to dip in and out of these two different cultures on a daily basis. US, you know, international campus life while you're on campus. And then as you leave campus at the end of the day, you're going to be in the city of Rome, and there's so much to discover, so much culture, so much, you know, the language. You sooner or later, you're all going to learn Italian. Don't worry if you don't know Italian before you come here, but there is, you know, and there is so much to discover, and it's a city that you will never get tired of living in, because it will never cease to amaze you with how incredibly beautiful it is. But yeah, so I'm here to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Kirsty.
Okay. So the first big question to clarify, I think, is what is financial aid? Because I think a lot of times people aren't entirely sure what it encompasses. So really, it's comprised of a lot of different areas depending on your individual situation, but mainly loans, VA, which is veterans benefits, and scholarships. So very quick overview on that. Loans you usually have to deal with once a year, so per academic year. Veterans aid and scholarships, usually once you have them, they will stay with you throughout your academic career at AUR, but obviously it depends on individual situations. And we're always happy to talk to you about those on a one-to-one basis. So there are two of us in financial aid. There's me, obviously, and then there's my colleague, Zoe Johnson, who is the Director of Graduate Admissions and Financial Aid. We're always available to talk to you, whether that be in person, via email, or we also do one-on-one calls via Zoom. It's very easy to schedule with us through the website. The QR code is at the bottom of the slide here for anybody who wants to schedule. Or you can just contact us via email at financialaid.aur.edu. Thankfully, it's on the slide so you can see it, even if I can't say it. And we're always happy to answer quick questions there as well. We know that financial aid is a really big deciding factor for many people when it comes to college and university. And we really encourage you to talk to us prior to making your decision. And we're happy to have conversations with parents as well, because obviously they are a big help in these big decisions. So next slide, please, Kate. Okay, so for those of you who have already received loan proposals or scholarship offers, you will have seen an overall view of the estimated cost of attendance at AUR. But sometimes it can be quite difficult to translate all of those numbers into everyday activities and expenses. So to give you an idea, we've added some bite-sized information here. So breakfast in Italy is usually just a cappuccino and a croissant, or a cornetto, as we call it here in Italy. And so if you're planning to fully immerse yourselves in the Bella Vita, this should only cost you around about €3 for breakfast. Some people still prefer to stick to the savory breakfast, which might be a little bit more expensive, but even so, I don't think you would be spending more than €10 on your breakfast. Similarly, dinner is pretty affordable. So for a 2-course meal, maybe even with a glass of wine, I would say 25 to 30 euros is probably an average cost, as long as you're not in the city center where all the tourists go. So generally eating out in Italy can be quite affordable. Since you're students, you're probably on a budget, so you may prefer to go to the supermarket. One thing about being at AUR is you're going to be living very independently, and so meal preparation is all on you. And so you can really control your budget depending on how much you can allow. So, you know, supermarket, you can be spending anywhere between 50 and 100 euros a week, depending on your diet. Depending on how regularly you're eating out, how much you're preparing meals at home, whether you're doing that as a group or whether you're doing that as an individual, but generally pretty affordable. Then we have transportation. So AUR is, it's in a pretty central location. So we have some good transport links. If you just walk down the hill a little bit, you can get a monthly pass for buses, trams, metros, and trains within the city. It costs 35 euros, but I think you'll also find that Rome is a very walkable city in general as well. So whether you actually need that pass will depend on where you are in relation to the university, if you're doing a lot of on-site classes, if you're going down into the center quite a lot. And it's really just something that you will kind of learn as you go. So maybe you just get the monthly pass the first month you're there, and then kind of see if you are spending more than 35, you would be spending more than 35 euros a month without it, or whether it's not really worth the expense for you. A really nice way to save a little bit of money, but also be sustainable in Rome are the Nazzone. So these are the drinking fountains that you can find around the city. If you have a reusable water bottle, you can just fill it up free of charge. So that's great, especially on a hot summer day. And then moving over to books and supplies, this is something that will depend a lot on the classes you're enrolled in. So if you're doing a lot of art classes, maybe archaeology classes as well, your expenses might be a little bit higher in this area just because you have to consider canvases, paintbrushes, maybe tools for archaeological digs, things like that. And some classes do have a small course fee as well, particularly for the film and the communications and digital media majors, just for some of the equipment that you're going to be using in the media lab as well. So be aware of that. You will see the course fees clearly stated on the syllabus before you actually sign up for the class. So don't worry too much about that. I don't know if any of our students have any quick tips about how they've saved money being in Rome. Obviously, you have a different perspective to me. If you do want to jump in, feel free. If not, I'm going to move on to the next slide.
I think I do. I think if you want to go like to the center of the city, like try to find someone else that is gonna go if you don't want to do like public transportation, so you can like split the cost with like Uber or anything. If you're not super comfortable yet with public transportation, I think that's important so it's cheaper for everyone.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Belen. Joanna?
I also.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Joanna. No. Joanna, go.
Sorry, I just saw her hand up.
I think Bruno and I might be are going to say the same thing, but I think the student government also organized. Okay, so the student government organized a very great initiative also for recycling, as well as to save costs when it comes to books and supplies, because people who were in the classes that needed, for example, books that needed to be bought, we recycle them in the student government office, so people can stop by and see if they have the book that they need, and they can give, I think, 10 euros, which goes to I think an initiative for recycling or donation, and then they can receive the books that they need for a lot cheaper than they do on Amazon or in a bookstore.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Great initiative, and thank you for sharing, Joanna. Bruno, was that your point, or did you want something else? Want to add something?
I wanted something else.
Go.
But it's a good point. So I recommend you go to local markets, such as, with food, with clothes. There's Porta Portesa every Sunday. So if you want to get, it's a huge market every Sunday from, I think, 9 to 2, and there's all different kinds of clothes, all different kinds of everything. And in Italy, it's very usual to go to, flea markets, to go to markets if you want to get something cheaper or you want to get something local. So, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lots of open air markets, and also the secondhand markets that are around the city. They're called Mercatino. So they have lots of clothes, as Bruno was saying, but also they have like objects for like house objects as well, which you probably won't need if you're in student housing the first semester, because you'll usually have like pots, pans, sheets, towels, and all the things you need. But as you're getting your own places, you might find you need small items for the house, and the mercatini are a really good place to get that as well. So great. Okay, next slide, please, Kate. Thank you. Okay, so banking in Italy. So banking is obviously a really personal choice. Some people prefer just to keep their home bank account and draw out cash as and when they need it. This does work in Italy, as Italy is quite a cash-driven country, but if you'd like to avoid too many ATM fees, you may want to get a local bank account. If you are planning to keep your own bank account, maybe just check with your bank what the fees are for using your card abroad and also taking cash out, things like that. And if you do want to get a local bank account, there's actually going to be a couple of banks here on campus during orientation week to help you get set up with that. Off the top of my head, I believe it's Poste Italiano and Fineco, but Kate or Jessica, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. One other alternative, which is great, particularly if you're a traveler, is an online multi-currency account. So there are several, such as RevolutWise and N26. So these are basically accounts that live online. So there's no physical branch that you can go to, but they work in lots of different currencies. So like if you're planning to travel somewhere where they're not using dollars or euros or whatever, you know, it's quite easy to exchange money, and you can use your card directly in the currency that you want to. So that's a really useful one as well. So yeah, next slide, I think, Kate. Thank you. So just one final thing that I would like to highlight is that there are two offices with very similar names at AUR. So there's the Financial Aid Office and also the Finance Office. So we have quite different roles, and people often get us confused, even after like 2-3 years of being at AUR. We always point you in the right direction if you do come to the wrong office, so don't worry. But just to kind of help you out a little bit, I've added some information about what each office does. So financial aid don't really have anything to do with money, in the sense that we don't have cash or take payments or anything like that. So if you need to make a payment, or you need to receive a refund from your loans, for example, or you're going on a trip and you need to pay for that, you would also always go to the finance office. So that's on the first floor of building A. Whereas if you're trying to get set up with loans, that's something that you would do through financial aid. So financial aid is dealing with your loans up until the point of disbursement. And then anything after that point is in the finance office, okay? Other things that the finance office do from your second semester, actually, because it's not available in your first semester, is payment plans, if that's something you need. And then financial aid will be doing the student training program, which is like a work study equivalency. And again, if you're coming in as a freshman student, that's something that's only available from your second semester, okay? But yeah, just a little bit of information about the difference between the two offices. So hopefully that can help.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to quickly wrap it up here, and then we're going to move into our Q&A. Thank you so much for sticking around with us for so long. So just real quick on preparing for departure. Hopefully all of you have looked at My AUR by now. If you're having difficulties accessing it or seeing the information, please reach out to us in admissions so that we can resolve the issue. There's a lot of very important information on My AUR, including your enrollment checklist. So this is a checklist that you'll see when you log in that's going to let you know everything that you have left to do on your journey to Rome, from submitting your official transcripts, doing anything FAFSA related if you're going to be, using FAFSA as a US student. It also has the pre-arrival schedule, things to expect, your your visa and permit to stay process if you need to go through immigration. There's a really helpful recorded webinar on there. And in about 2 weeks, there will be pre-arrival modules and a quiz that you'll need to take as a incoming student. So it's a very helpful portal for all things to just kind of get ready to come to Rome or to find more information if you're still making your decision. So definitely be sure to log in and let us know if you're having any difficulties or if you have questions. Just some important dates for fall 2023, things to remember about pre-arrival. We do have required forms that you'll see like on your enrollment checklist. Those open on August 1st. Some dates about when housing move-in is and when orientation starts, when your classes start, also deadlines for payments, submitting your quizzes, all sorts of things to make sure that you just know exactly what you're supposed to do, get it out of the way so you can focus on, your move to Rome and everything that, it really matters, like that first week of orientation. We'll be having some virtual events over the summer as well. We are still deciding on those dates, so definitely, stay in the loop. We will be posting that on my AUR. We're also going to be having an Instagram contest, a real contest with some really great prizes. So keep an eye out on your email on Instagram for more information about that if you would like to participate. I'm not going to dive into this right now, but I did want to let you know that our orientation week schedule is now live on my AUR. It looks like this. So you'll definitely know it when you see it. It has a lot of helpful information about what to expect, if you're a student, if you're a family member, and kind of, what's happening when and where, just to help you kind of get excited as well. And that's it. Very brief. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday to join us and learn more. We hope it was helpful. Big thank you to our students for being here on their Sunday night. We always feel in admissions that at a certain point you probably get tired of hearing from us, and so we really want to make sure that you get the opportunity to hear from students since they know the experience best. We're going to move straight into Q&A. I've already seen some really great questions come through. I've been answering them, so feel free to just keep putting questions in that Q&A. We'll stay on for 10-15 minutes depending on how many questions we get. From here on out, we'll be answering them live instead of typed up, so feel free to just type on in there. If you feel like you have all the information that you needed today, you're welcome to depart whenever you need to, and thanks again for attending. So I'll just kind of answer that first question that's in there. What will the quiz be about? So we have pre-modules on my AUR. These are recorded sessions for very important information that we want to make sure you get before arriving so that we can focus on orientation on some more of like the fun stuff, the socializing, and don't completely overwhelm you. So the pre-modules will be on some important information, and then there are quizzes that just kind of you take to confirm that you did the module and that you received the information. So nothing crazy, just a way to kind of make sure that that information went in and was digested. Okay, question for a cell phone carrier. We've got someone typing an answer. Okay, I'm not the person to take this question. I'm the only one here that doesn't live in Rome. So I'm going to hand it over to someone who actually can speak a little bit more about that. But we also do have a couple carriers coming during orientation week as well.
Let me just jump in here. I think there's a bunch of different carriers that you can choose from. We will have, I think, 1 or 2 coming to campus straight during the week of orientation. So the easiest is to just get an Italian SIM card, and there are very affordable plans to go with. Nothing to worry about at all. I do think that it can wait until you get to Italy though.
With regard to that, I always recommend that if your current phone carrier doesn't have international travel included, to at least make sure that you can use it for a few days as you're settling in, so you have access to your phone until you get that Italian SIM card set up. So it's, depending on your carrier, it's pretty easy to set up. You just get in touch with them. Okay, if we're planning to do student housing, should we book our flight for August 28th or prior to that date? Depending on where you are coming from in the world, but what you should be looking at is your arrival date in Rome. So if you're going into student housing and you're traveling solo, I highly recommend to arrive at Rome Fiumicino Airport on the 28th of August so that we can pick you up and bring you to housing. A lot of students want to come in earlier so they can kind of rest and relax. You're welcome to do that, but you'll have to figure out your own accommodation until the 28th and then navigate to campus to check into housing. So at that point in time, I would just say, arrive at the airport, get picked up, let us help you get settled into your housing. If you're coming from North America, that means that you'll be departing the day before. So you'll be departing on Sunday, the 27th to arrive in the morning on Monday, the 28th in Rome. All right. We've got a question about a laptop, and I see that Professor Coretti is typing an answer. Awesome. So we've got that squared away. Okay, what other airports are we able to fly into, and what is the ideal airport? So that depends on where you're coming from. If you're doing international travel, it's likely going to be Rome Fiumicino. There is another airport that I think is maybe for more like within Europe travel. But in terms of airport pickups, we pick up from Rome Fiumicino. The airport code is FCO. So that's the one that you want to fly in for pickup for housing. Apart from that, for weekend trips here, there, and everywhere, it depends where you're going. You can access both airports using public transportation. So at that point, it doesn't really matter. But in terms of pickups on the 28th, it's Fiumicino. Good questions.
Just a quick final note on arrival. So if you are arriving on the 28th at Fiumicino Airport, be sure to arrive by 3 p.m. So we will guarantee pickup all the way up until 3 p.m. Usually that's not an issue, especially if you're coming in from the US. Those flights tend to arrive early in the morning.
Other questions? I'm assuming that we were very comprehensive and covered all things in our presentation. Just as we're kind of taking questions, and I can see that there are still several folks here in attendance, I'm actually going to go back to this slide just in case. I'm not going to talk through it, but just to leave it in the background if folks want to look at it. It's a good back slide to have at the moment as we wait for some more questions. Okay, and a question about housing. For second semester housing, do we get assigned a new housing arrangement with AUR or the same previous arrangement? Great question. So we do assignments every semester. So you can, and forgive me if I get this wrong, I might have to ask Jess or someone, but you can make a request to be roomed with the same people and even in the same apartment. And if that can be accommodated, it will be. But every semester you have to reapply because we do housing assignments semester by semester. It has its pros and cons. Obviously, I get the question a lot, does that mean I have to move out all of my stuff between fall and spring semester? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. However, it does give students that flexibility that if you choose housing in the fall, you're not locked in for spring. And so that is a really, really good benefit that you're not going to find at other US institutions, because most of the time you're locked into housing on campus for usually 2 years. So at AUR, we give that flexibility that you can say, yes, I want it in the fall, not in the spring, but I want it the following fall. So that's a really good benefit. Okay, next question. What are the options for students to do during the holiday if going home is not an option? It depends on, your choices. I think students travel. I would imagine that students will get temporary housing, but maybe our students here can kind of share if, what you did after you moved out of AUR housing. Did you do some travel? Did you go home? Did you stay in Rome? What did that look like?
This past winter break, I after finals, I like stayed in Rome for a few days, and it was really nice because I could and I just stayed in like a really cheap Airbnb for a little bit. But I was home before Christmas. But I mean, I got to like explore parts of the city that I was wanting to see, and like go to all the Christmas markets and like do all my Christmas shopping. So it was good.
Thanks. So yeah, that time is what you make it. Certainly not all students will go home for the holidays. I think some students will take that opportunity to travel within Europe or just kind of, maybe go visit some Italian towns that they haven't been to yet. Next question is, I'm going to hand it over to Jess because I don't live in Rome, so I don't have much experience with the fiscal code.
Yeah, the Codice Fiscale, I'm not exactly sure what the question was. We will help you with it when you come to Rome, but it's all connected to you. So you're going to be applying for a student visa. Once you get to Rome, that student visa is converted into another document called the permit to stay. And once you are registered, you're then able to apply for the Codice Fiscale, the fiscal code. There should be no requirement for that before you come here, though. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so yes, move-in is on the 28th. That is the move-in day for student housing. And okay, the next question is whether or not it's recommended to be in Rome by the 28th, and then September 4th is the start date of classes for everyone. So September 4th is the first day of classes for all students new and returning. If you are a new student, you are required to attend orientation. So orientation officially starts on Tuesday, August 29th. Housing move-in date is the Monday, the 28th. So if you are in AUR housing, you want to arrive on the 28th. If you're doing independent housing, you just need to make sure that you arrive to AUR by 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, August 29th for the mandatory orientation. Then classes begin the following Monday. Okay. Do I need to come to the permit to stay session if I am an Italian citizen? No, you do not, because you will not need to get a permit to stay if you are an Italian citizen. So that is not a requirement for you. All good questions. Okay, so I did get a question earlier about whether or not our panelists are willing to be available for folks who attended today. I'm going to ask if you are a panelist who's willing to be available for our attendees today, please put your information into the chat. Folks should be able to see it. They won't be able to type in there, but they'll be able to see it. If you just want to change the two from hosts and panelists to everyone, so that everyone can see your information, I would appreciate it.
Sorry,
yeah.
Kate, I don't think they actually can. I think it's
See it
completely
or
disabled the
type
chat.
in it?
No, because if you try to select somebody to write to, it just shows the names of the hosts and panelists. So I assume that students can't see it, but perhaps we can just include it in a follow-up email.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Thanks, Kirsty. Which is perfect for the next question. Where will the recording of this call be? So we will send out a link to the recording, early next week, so that you can access it. Both attendees and folks who registered but were unable to come or had to leave early. And so we'll make sure that, all students are receiving that. And in that, I'll make sure that we include the information of all panelists who are willing to share that, the contact information. Okay, great. Question for Jess. For orientation, what is the level of parent involvement?
Yeah, we welcome all parents and families to come to orientation week if it's possible. There will be an alternative orientation schedule for you. So again, that starts on Tuesday and it goes all the way up until Thursday. And the idea is to introduce you to the, AUR staff and faculty for you to kind of get a taster lecture of what it's like to go to be an AUR student, but also to get an idea of the university, of where we're located, and to do some cultural events throughout the city. So we're more than happy to welcome all families. And then that all ends with the, culminates with the AUR barbecue on the Saturday, where obviously everyone is invited. So yes, if you can make it, it would be great to see you during orientation week. Otherwise, we are always organizing a Thanksgiving weekend, and obviously all families are invited to that as well. So we do hope to see you throughout the semester at some point.
Great question. We're going to take questions for about 4 more minutes, and then we're going to close the webinar. I want to be very mindful of the fact that it's after 8 p.m. on a Sunday in Rome. I'm, East Coast time, so it's not so bad for me. So if you have any questions, please, take this 4-minute opportunity to pop them in the chat. We're always available at admissions@aur.edu, or you could reach out to your individual admissions counselor as well. We can get you to the right office if it's, someone specific that you're looking for. So please do take advantage of the fact that we're here to answer questions for you, and to make sure you get all the information you need to make the right decision, or to, pave your road to Rome. Yeah, and that is about it. And I'm very grateful to all of our students for joining. Thank you so much. And all Professor Caretti, I know, again, Sunday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We still have a few more attendees in the room, so I'm just going to give another few minutes just in case everyone is typing. I don't want to cut them off if they're mid-typing. Thank you so much, Leslie. Thanks for coming. This is a question I'm not sure I can answer. Perfect. Okay. All right, I think we'll wrap up here. So thank you so much to our remaining attendees in the room. We appreciate you coming again, and let us know how else we can help. And I'm going to go ahead and stop our webinar now.